Have you ever wondered what would happen in the world of football if every single player was a free agent? Imagine the chaos, imagine the opportunities, imagine the rebuild. Today we are going to take over Brighton, a team well renowned for their incredible scouting, recruitment and ability to find a gem, and giving them a fresh challenge using my every player release database. With the entire football world as free transfers, our mission is to sign the brightest young talents and reshape the English Premier League. Can we take Brighton to the top in this new footballing order? Stick around to find out. The first transfer window of this rebuild was always going to be carnage, with every single player available as a free transfer. Some of the craziest moves saw Kylian Mbappe join Manchester City, Liverpool picked up Brazilian superstar Neymar, and Virgil van Dijk swapped Anfield for Stamford Bridge as he joined Chelsea. Before I started signing anyone, Brighton's finances looked amazing, £52 million in the transfer budget and £3 million a week to spend on player wages. However, we weren't going to be going after the elite tier superstars. They were going to end up at other clubs. We were going to be cultivating a specific crop of young wonder kid talent to see what we could do and see how they could develop over the course of this rebuild. So I got to work because I had this squad of greyed out players to fill, and I needed to do it as quickly as possible. I started at the back, securing a young defensive partnership by snapping up both Levi Colwill and Mark Gahey. We also added Gavin Bazunu to join shortly after, who will play in goal. This was then followed up by me pretending that I was Chelsea, as we saw Benoit Badiashile, Noni Madueke and Romeo Lavia joining the team as well. As you can see, the transfer season was relentless, but we now have an amazing young squad moving into season number 1. Looking at the squad comparison screen, you can see the average age of our squad is under 20 years old, with the league average being just over 25. To make sure some of my squad get the game time we need, I'll be pinning Colwill, Lavia and a returning Evan Ferguson into these positions for season 1. The Premier League looks really different now, but Manchester City are still favourites to win the title, and we're predicted to finish in 8th with odds of 50-1. In the league, the board wants us to finish mid-table and expect a minimum of quarter-finals in both domestic cups. Let's get to work and see how this young team gets on. Looking at the results for season 1, I am ecstatic about how we've got on with such a young squad. We finished in 6th in the Premier League and qualified for next season's Europa Conference League. Arsenal went on to win the Premier League title on goal difference thanks to James Ward-Prowse getting 19 assists in the league and Marc-Andre ter Stegen keeping 20 clean sheets. Elsewhere, Kylian Mbappe scooped the Premier League Golden Boot with 33 goals, but he pipped some interesting names to it, including Liverpool's Robert Lewandowski, Arsenal's Lautaro Martinez, and Tottenham's Romelu Lukaku. We were disappointing in the Cups, only making it to the third round of the Carabao Cup, where Aston Villa beat us 1-0, and the third round of the FA Cup, where we lost 3-0 to Man City thanks to a Raheem Sterling brace as he's back playing under Pep. Evan Ferguson was our standout performer with 16 goals and 2 assists in all competitions, but he's still only 18. So lots of time for further development. Ahead of season 2, I have loads of money to spend, but I don't feel like I actually need to spend it. So I'll focus those funds on improving the club's already impressive facilities. I've already got an increase in junior coaching budget and youth recruitment, with upgrades to the training facilities due to be finished in 1 month. Moving into season 2, there are no transfers to update you on other than Liam Delap departing the club to go on loan to Fulham. He looks really good, but a season in the Championship should do him some good. One incoming player I forgot to mention last season was Florian Wirtz, who joined us in January because no club seemingly wanted this youngster, so I swept him up. Why not? Due to no real incomings, we won't be switching up too much this season, and this is the starting 11 moving into season 2. However, to continue their development, I will be pinning in Colwill and Ferguson into their positions for the season. Competitions wise, we have the same 3 competitions, but we add the Europa Conference League to our schedule. However, being an English team, I expect us to do really well in this competition, and the board wants a quarter final as a minimum. Looking at the preseason odds, we're 150 to 1 to win the title and predicted to finish in 9th in the table. This would be fine with the club vision, as the board are expecting a top half finish in the Premier League and quarter-final appearances in both domestic cup competitions. Off the field, the training facilities upgrade has been completed, so we now have the best training facilities possible in the game. We're still the youngest squad in the division by some margin, so let's see if we can improve on last season's 6th place finish. In the Premier League, our young side battled hard and managed to finish inside the top 4, which will see us qualify for the Champions League in Season 3. Throughout the season, we picked up all 6 points against teams like Manchester United, Chelsea, and Tottenham, who all finished below us in the league. In the domestic cups, we crashed out of the second round of the Carabao Cup at the hands of League One Ipswich Town at Portman Road. We made it to the 5th round of the FA Cup with wins against Bolton and Sheffield Wednesday before crashing out on penalties at the hands of Fulham after a 1-1 draw, with Iliax Moriba missing the final penalty in a game we dominated and probably should have won. However, things went much better in the Europa Conference League. We were in Group A alongside Hearts, Mislami Ori from Moldova and Bate Borisov from Belarus. We fired out a big statement of intent, winning all of our games in the group without even conceding a goal, including this hammering of Bate, with Iliax Moriba scoring the best goal I've ever seen on FM23. As we progressed into the knockout stages, we came up against Scottish side Hearts, a side we'd already dominated in the group stage. The game at Tynecastle was pretty one-sided, as we had 4 different goal scorers in Garnacho, Taylor, Moriba and Palmer to see us firmly in the driving seat in the tie. Back at the Amex, things were still one-sided, as Badiashile and Fofana fired us into the quarterfinals. This is where we'd come up against French side Auxerre, who took the lead in the first leg inside 2 minutes thanks to Dwight McNeil. Andreas Schelderup then saw his penalty saved by Neto, but atoned in the second half to pull us level in the tie. In the second leg, Garnacho gave us the lead in the first half before Harry Maguire, of all people, levelled for Auxerre. We were the better side, but the game went to penalties where Gavin Bazunu turned up big and won us the game, saying Rashid Gezel's penalty, with our boys scoring all 5 of their penalties. That result saw us advance to the Conference League semi-finals, where we would take on Croatian side Rijeka. We were on the road in the first leg, where the Croatian side took the lead, but Datro Fofana was able to give us a lifeline with his 91st minute goal. Things were much more straightforward at the Amex as we coasted through the game, with goals from Fofana, Madueke and Schelderup seeing us win the tie 4-1 on aggregate. This set up a Conference League final against Schalke, with the game to take place at the Parc des Princes in Paris. Our young squad took to the field in their first final since being assembled and took the game by the scruff of the neck as Mark Gahey scored from a corner inside the opening 5 minutes. We didn't have things all our own way, as Datro Fofana was given a second yellow card in the 21st minute. You're going to have to let me know in the comments if you think this was deserved to see him sent off in a final. Even though we were down to 10 men, we rallied as a team, and James Garner extended our lead on the half-hour mark before Andreas Schelderup secured the win with an audacious volley in the 86th minute. This saw us lift the Europa Conference League trophy and win our first bit of silverware for this save, but I'm hoping it's not going to be the last. Moving into season number 3, we have £91 million in the bank and £70 million as a transfer budget. Do I look to see who's available? So, to start Season 3, I did look to see who was available, and I have to say, I did sign a player who I've never ever signed in a rebuild, ever. And there's probably good reason for it, because he's very difficult to sign. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our new number 1, Gianluigi Donnarumma. The Italian shot-stopper is an absolute monster and is probably the best goalkeeper in the league. What makes this even more funny is that we snagged him from Aston Villa for £50 million after their 13th place finish in the Premier League last season. It won't come as a surprise that Donnarumma stepped straight into our starting 11, which is really starting to look spicy going into Season 3. Following last season's 4th place finish in the Premier League, we will be entering the Champions League for the first time in the club's history and will be part of the league phase. In the Premier League, we're 50 to 1 to win the title and are predicted to finish in 9th. The board are expecting a top half finish in the Premier League and quarterfinals again in the domestic cups. As for the Champions League, they just want us to be competitive in our debut. Off the pitch, we have other improvements coming as the board have agreed more coaches and physios and to improve our youth facilities. It would appear the Champions League cost us domestically as our performance dropped off a cliff in the Premier League. We finished in 9th with 53 points, but interestingly, with a negative goal difference, even though we've added, in my opinion, the best goalkeeper in the game. Although it was a distraction, our Champions League campaign was a great success. In the league phase, we faced Antwerp, Red Star Belgrade, Juventus, Sevilla, AEK Athens, Red Bull Salzburg, Bayern Munich, and Porto. We managed to pick up 7 wins in these games, with our one loss coming at home against Juventus, who have signed Lionel Messi. But even the GOAT saw his penalty saved by Donnarumma. We finished 3rd in the league phase, meaning we automatically qualified for the round of 16, where we would come up against Hertha Berlin from Germany. First up was the trip to Germany, where Datro Fofana put us in the lead with his first half strike. However, the second leg at the Amex was much more routine, especially since Kieran Trippier decided to get himself sent off on the 12th minute. We used the extra man to our advantage and started to turn the screw as Evan Ferguson slotted a brace before Noni Madueke and Benoit Badiashile joined him on the score sheet as we ran out comfortable 5-1 winners. This meant we advanced to the quarterfinals of the Champions League, where we came up against 5-time winners Barcelona. The first leg was in Spain and the pendulum of the game swung in both directions. Kenneth Taylor put us in the lead before Lucas Digne equalised with his stunning strike. Mark Guehi unfortunately put the ball in his own net, but Evan Ferguson was able to pull a goal back just 7 minutes later. This result gave us a great chance taking things back to the Amex. However, this is sadly where we exited the competition. Donnarumma came to punch a corner, but Barca worked it nicely for Maximilian Arnold, who smashed the ball past the Italian to see us crash out at home. In the domestic cup competitions, we advanced in the Carabao Cup with penalty wins against Derby County and Leicester City before knocking out Southampton in the quarter-finals thanks to this Evan Ferguson tap-in. This then set up a semi-final against Manchester City, which was of course contested over 2 legs. The first leg finished 1-1 as Benoit Badiashile scored a stunner, but we switched off immediately at kickoff as Yannick Carrasco pulled City level in the exact same minute. The second leg, however, was absolute carnage. Bukayo Saka gave City the lead before 2 quick-fire goals from Madueke and Fofana put us back in front in the tie before Kylian Mbappe cancelled out the lead. The game looked destined for extra time until Mbappe slotted again in the 5th minute of injury time, but Badiashile headed home from a free kick just 1 minute later. Extra time was a step too far for us as Kylian Mbappe rounded off his hat-trick in the 100th minute before Bruno Guimaraes put the final nail in the coffin 5 minutes later to see us knocked out at the semi-final stage. We had some dominant performances in the FA Cup as well. On our journey through, we were able to knock off Leicester City, Cardiff, Birmingham and Sheffield United before booking a trip at Wembley to take on Tottenham. Max Aarons gave us the lead early on with his powerful strike, which was cancelled out by Luis Diaz. The game went to extra time where I thought Datro Fofana had won us the game, but Julian Alvarez rescued Spurs in injury time to send the game to penalties. Tommy Doyle missed a penalty for us, but big summer signing Donnarumma came up clutch, saving penalties from Otavio and Lucas Torreira. This meant a return trip to Wembley to face Premier League winners Arsenal in the FA Cup final. Arsenal turned up with a fantastic side and you can really see why they won the league. Florian Wirtz gave us the lead with his superbly taken volley under pressure before Matteo Cancellieri made the most of a defensive mix-up to pull the Gunners level. Nothing happened really in extra time, so that meant another penalty shootout, but I have the penalty saving king, Donnarumma, between the sticks. He first denied set-piece specialist James Ward-Prowse with a save down low to his right, before stopping Kimpembe by going the other way, giving Iliax Moriba the opportunity to put our name on the trophy, which he did, sending Sam Johnson the wrong way to see us lift the FA Cup for the first time in the club's history. So we've now got 2 trophies in the club's trophy cabinet, and we have 61 million in our transfer budget for season 4. Let's see what we can do. As we progressed into season 4, I tried to channel my inner Brighton and I started looking for wonder kids. First up is Liang Prasad, who came in from Thailand, who joined for just 700k, and he looks brilliant technically. We also signed Serbian centre-back Dejan Milikovic for £2.5 million. Borislav Tomovsky joined us from Bulgaria for £2.5 million as well. Damian Perez came in from Argentina for £5 million. And a Wonder Kid cohort wouldn't be complete without a Brazilian, as Elton joined from Flamengo for £7.5 million. And finally, Mexican Mario Alberto Lopez joined from Club America for £6 million. However, none of these guys are good enough for first team football right now, so they've all gone out on loan. The team continues to develop together and looks super balanced going into the season, and that is reflected in our odds in the league, as we are now 33-1 to win the title and predicted to finish in 8th. Because of winning the FA Cup last season, not only do we have the Community Shield where we will take on Arsenal, but we also have European football in the form of the Europa League. Off the field, we've almost maxed out our facilities, and we've been partnering with teams all across the world to boost the name of Brighton worldwide and increase commercial revenue in Japan, America, and Australia. Season 4's curtain opener of the Community Shield saw us take on Premier League champions Arsenal. Both sides scored late goals in normal time to send the game to extra time. Nothing happened in extra time, which means yet another penalty shootout. Sadly, Donnarumma couldn't even save us this time, as Garnacho and Badiashile missed their penalties to see Arsenal lift the Community Shield. In the Premier League, we acquitted ourselves much better than last season and returned to the top 4 with 72 points to secure Champions League football for next season. Sadly, we were unable to retain our FA Cup trophy. We knocked out Cardiff and West Brom before losing to Leicester on penalties in the 5th round, as Manswerk, Madueke and Gehi all saw their penalties saved. We didn't get on much better in the Carabao Cup either, as we crashed out in the 4th round at the hands of Newcastle. But in Europe, we're a completely different animal. In the Europa League, we face Roma, Ferencváros, Fiorentina, Sparta Prague, Lesi Skofia, AZ Alkmaar, Shakhtar, Soligos, and Almira. We actually won every single fixture against these teams and topped the Europa League, scoring 23 goals in the process. Finishing in the top 8 meant we qualified automatically for the round of 16, where we take on Marseille. We were disappointing in the first leg, as Marseille scored every single goal in the game. Dembasek and Abel Ruiz scored for the home side, and Elliot Cargill put one in his own net to give us a lifeline. Back at the Amex, our quality shone through as we put Marseille away comfortably with goals from Florian Wirtz, Datro Fofana, James Garner and Andrea Schelderup to win the tie 5-2 on aggregate. We progressed into the quarterfinals, where we had French opposition again, and this time it was Lille in our way. Again, we seemed to struggle in France. Enes Unal opened the scoring for the home side before Fofana equalised from the spot. Paredes put Lille back in front in the second half before Unal scored again in the 90th minute.
I'm in danger!
However, it turns out in European competition, the Amex is a bit of a fortress. Fofana opened the scoring from the spot before Evan Ferguson pulled us level on aggregate, before Florian Wirtz scored this banger to see us edge through 4-3 on aggregate. Into the semi-finals we go, where we would take on Porto. This time we were at home first and really dominated from start to finish. Goals from Wirtz, Badiashile and Lavia put us firmly in the driving seat, heading over to Portugal. Porto had to attack in the second leg, and this is where we were able to take advantage. The game was hotly contested, but we were never really in danger of losing this tie. Goals from Garner, Schelderup and Palmer saw us run out 6-2 winners on aggregate and book ourselves a place in the final. It will come to no surprise that I was up against another English side in the final, as we took on Tottenham, who are now managed by Pep Guardiola. So I reckon I'm going to have my work cut out here. The game was tight, and honestly not much happened in the game, with it ultimately ending up at penalties yet again. Step forward, the Superman that is Gianluigi Donnarumma. He was able to save Italian teammate Federico Di Marco's penalty to open the shootout, and our boys didn't disappoint, as Ferguson, Wirtz, Manswerk and Garnacho all hit the back of the net, giving Romeo Lavia the chance to etch his name in history, and he didn't let us down, drilling his penalty down the middle to see us win the Europa League. So this means we've won 3 trophies in 4 seasons, along with a Conference League and the Europa League. I guess I have to be gunning for the Champions League in Season 5 to complete the set. I have another £38 million in transfer budget, but I will be spending all of that on new gens. Roll on Season 5. Wonder Kid New Gen recruitment was underway again this summer as we started with Thomas Calderon, who joined from Union Santa Fe for £4.5 million. Abdullah Hamida joined the club from Toulouse as well for $500k. We picked up Justin Brenner on a free transfer, but he now looks a lot worse than what I first thought. But at least he was free. Mauricio Amaral joined the club from Brazil for the largest fee for a new gen as he joined for £16.5 million, but he does look sensational already. However, we did make £113 million through player sales. Liam Delat was unhappy after several loans, so went out to join Real Madrid for a whopping £66 million. Cole Palmer departed the club as well for Levante as I couldn't guarantee him regular minutes. He got us another £30 million in the bank. The last player out the door was Sivert Mansvark, who left the club after over 100 league appearances to join Porto for £16 million. This left £100 million in my pocket, which was burning a massive hole. I just had to spend it. Enter Dortmund striker Goncalo Ramos, who has developed fantastically in Germany and will really take our attack to the next level. He was expensive at £61 million, but with him leading the line, we are ready to take on the Premier League. Our title odds have dropped to 20-1, but we're still supposed to finish in 8th place. I guess we just have to prove the media wrong here. We have a lot of competitions this season as we're back in the Champions League and will take on Liverpool in the UEFA Super Cup as winners of last season's Europa League. We may only have an average squad age of just over 23 years, but this team has matured enough to mean business this season. The first game of the season was the Super Cup, where we took on last season's Champions League winners Liverpool. We did not mess about in this game, and Goncalo Ramos introduced himself to the squad with a debut hat-trick. We also chipped in with goals from Moriba and Badiashile in what was one of the most sided Super Cup games I've ever seen. Trophy number 1 this season secured. On home soil, we were equally as dominant. Let's start off by talking about the Carabao Cup. We progressed comfortably with victories over Tottenham, Burnley and then Luton before setting up a semi-final clash with Bournemouth. The first leg was at the Vitality and it was really a no contest as goals from Evan Ferguson, Andreas Schelderup and Alejandro Garnacho put us firmly in front. Back at the Amex, we were just as comfortable as Benoit Badiashile and Noni Madueke put the tie beyond doubt to see us advance to the final with a 5-1 aggregate victory. The final saw us reignite our rivalry with Arsenal. This time we came out on top thanks to this fantastic free kick from Andreas Schelderup. Trophy number 2. Check. Onto the FA Cup as well, and I can show you we've really matured this season because we are a completely different animal. We entered the competition in the 3rd round where we dispatched Southampton and followed that up with wins against Reading and West Brom to put us into the quarter-finals. Wolves were the opposition in the quarter-finals and Eugen Langprisat opened the scoring with this nice goal before Thiago Thomas pulled Wolves level. Goals from Evan Ferguson and Alejandro Garnacho put us back in the driving seat, but Brian Broby gave us a fright with his goal in the 94th minute. But we advanced through to the semi-finals. Another trip to Wembley was on the cards and it was Diego Simeone's Manchester United in our way. United were the better side for this tie, with Moises Caicedo giving them the lead against his former club. With 10 minutes to go, Benoit Badiashile leapt highest from a set piece to head us level and send the game to extra time. Nothing of note happened in extra time, so the game went to a penalty shootout. Both sides were calmly slotting their penalties until Josko Gvardiol's tame penalty was saved by Donnarumma, booking us a place in our 2nd FA Cup final in 3 seasons. Arsenal were the final opponents yet again, and we were taking them on for our 2nd final of the season. This game was much more one-sided than the Carabao Cup final, as we ran out 3-0 winners, with Datro Fofana scoring a brace with another goal from Florian Wirtz, wrapping up the win and putting the game to bed inside the first half. So that makes 3 trophies for the season, and we've still not discussed the Premier League or the Champions League just yet. Season 5 saw us achieve our highest points total in the save so far with 76 points, which actually saw us lift the Premier League trophy on the penultimate day of the season at home to Tottenham. I actually felt a bit dirty winning the league with this number of points because every other season has required at least 81 points to win the title. So I think I've kind of fluked it here. Finally, let's talk about the Champions League. In the league phase, our opposition was Dortmund, PSG, Lyon, Olympiacos, FC Copenhagen, Real Madrid, Feyenoord, and Sparta Prague. We finished in 12th in the league phase with 15 points, however we did lose the games against Madrid, PSG and Dortmund. Finishing in 12th meant we qualified for the knockout stages, where Porto were our first opposition. We won both games against Porto 1-0, winning on the road first thanks to Alex Moriba striking from outside the area, before winning the game back at the Amex thanks to this gorgeous chip from new-gen Mauricio Amaral. In the round of 16, we had a true test, Stefano Pioli's Manchester City and Kylian Mbappe. The first leg was at the Amex and I was shocked by the result. We were able to put 5 goals past Jordan Pickford with 5 different goal scorers. Evan Ferguson, Andreas Schelderup, Iliax Moriba, Levi Colwell and Romeo Lavia all hit the back of the net in what was a bit of a smash and grab because the game was actually pretty even. The second leg at the Etihad, we opened the scoring thanks to Max Aarons with this lovely solo goal, which was cancelled out minutes later with Mbappe scoring from the spot. We were able to regain the lead on the night, this time as Max Aarons turned provider, putting it on a plate for Schelderup to tap home, meaning we win the tie against Man City 7-1 on aggregate. In the quarterfinals, we took on an Italian opposition in the face of Inter Milan. We were on the road in the first leg, but we were pushed into the driving seat in the 11th minute as Jacques Bijol was shown a straight red card for his lunge on Evan Ferguson. Datro Fofana scored a goal in each half to give us a 2-goal lead before Dani Olmo pulled 10-man Inter Milan back from the penalty spot. Back at home for the second leg, and Memphis Depay pulled the tie level after just 6 minutes. But we weren't going to be pinned back as Noni Madueke and Evan Ferguson both scored in the first half to recover our lead. Olmo scored with 20 minutes remaining, but our victory in Milan saw us advance to the semi-finals 4-3 on aggregate. However, our semi-final opponents were a little bit of a juggernaut. It is 14-time champions Real Madrid. But I guess to be the best, you have to beat the best. The first game of the tie was at the Bernabeu, where Madrid took the lead early through Timo Werner's glancing header. Our young side battled back with goals from Andreas Schelderup and Evan Ferguson, who made the most of limited opportunities to put us in the lead before Mohamed Salah scored a Salah-style goal to make the game 2-2. At the Amex, record signing on Carlo Ramos put us in the lead after the hour mark with an expertly taken finish before big bad Badiashile again leapt highest to turn home a corner. This meant we won the tie 4-2 on aggregate and will be advancing to the Champions League final where we would take on Liverpool. The final took place at the Stade de France, where Liverpool's team looked exceptional with players like Antonio Rudiger, Jude Bellingham and Martin Odegaard in their starting 11. Romeo Lavia gave us the lead on the 18th minute, heading home from the second phase of a Brighton corner before Goncalo Ramos collected his own header off the crossbar to head past Thibaut Courtois. This meant that we collected the Champions League trophy and completed an unprecedented quintuple. If you want to carry on this save, you can do. I will post it in my Discord. Links to that are down in the description. And if you do like the rebuild content, check out this playlist for all the rebuilds that we've done on FM23.